know, like they're not honest with it.
They're not.
They're not honest with themselves on it.
It's a
You know,
sad way to live.
it is, but we've all been there too, you know, so
Yeah,
we can't judge that. How many times
right.
did you try to talk yourself into believing that, it wasn't
Everything was
broken? Yeah,
okay,
well, it's good,
or
you know?
I'll handle it next month. You know,
Yeah.
I,
We'll
I
fix
I can stay out of the house for this amount of time and
yeah.
come home and still kind of make it work. Like there's all these kind of bullshit games that you try to play with yourself to
Love will see
justify it.
us through,
Yeah,
Love will
yeah.
see
I
us
I
through.
never felt that way, but
You're all
when you get in a situation where you're comfortable, right? You're comfortable with the situation and you accept it for a while. It's hard to get out of that mindset of making an actual move or an actual change.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to literally, it's almost like with drugs. You have to literally hit rock bottom
Yeah.
before you will make an actual change in relationships.
Yeah.
It's the truth. It comes to a boiling point because both of you are sitting there in your feelings. You're afraid to tell each other. You're afraid to make a move because you don't know what kind of eruption that's going to cause in the rest of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if she's going to go for broke and try to take everything you have or hurt you, say egregious things, get you arrested, domestic violence, whatever the case may be. These are realities people go through every day. It can ruin careers. It can ruin your life.
If you run into your ex on the street, could you talk to her?
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. We had such differences that it ended so bad in the end. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Like, what would you do if you ran into her right now?
It, there's a saying out. It's the people that you used to be close to become strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what we became, is strangers.
Yeah, it's a good thought, man.
So to me, she's another face in the crowd. I would never approach her to speak to her. I wish her the best in the fact that I'm a human being and I know how hard life is, and I don't wish bad on anybody. But I don't want any part of your life because we got to a boiling point where we were so toxic for each other that
Mm-hmm.
it just was smart enough to walk away.
Yeah.
For the two of us. One of us was, and I'm not saying this in a crazy way or anything, but there was no good coming out of staying.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You ever like go back and think about things sometimes, and it's like then you get like these visuals in your head of like things and moments you had and different parts of your life and memories that you shared together or went through, because usually in cases of relationships, especially partnerships or
yeah,
marriages or whatever, people have been doing it for years upon end of their life most times.
right.
Some really long, some others. Like, do you ever feel yourself just like randomly reminiscing about like certain things from years before or something that pops up in your head, or was it not long enough to be with that person to do that?
It wasn't long enough, and there was nothing really that meaningful that happened during that time frame. That's why I say quote unquote marriage, because I don't even consider that a marriage. We were based off of, in the beginning, an addiction, and it was all drug fueled.
Mm-hmm.
Versus now with my wife currently, it's like I'm in it. I'm wanting to fight for it. I didn't have that urgency in the previous one to stay and fight and to be a man and try to fix the household and to be humble and accept that I need to concede on some things and that she needs to concede on some things. That never occurred to me with my previous marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It was always like, no, fuck that. I don't care. I don't care what you want. You don't care what I want. So we're never going to see eye to eye. We never worked on seeing eye to eye or go to counseling or cared enough to even do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, it's a good honest perspective though.
it is. I gotta be honest in the fact that my first marriage was a huge learning lesson on what to look for in the future
Mm-hmm.
in a person I want to be with, and what not to look for, and how to handle myself in those situations. Not going for the painful things to say or the kill shot, so to speak, of when you're talking to somebody. Not stepping outside those lines of love and caring and stuff like that. Those are things that I think of now in my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You
Do you
know,
do a
I
good job at it? You think you do a better job, a good job, or it's still the same?
I've definitely worked on it very hard. There's still times that I slip up
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a human being and a man on top of that. you know. So when the testosterone goes, you get in. We're men, we have egos, right?
Sure.
So when there's problems, we automatically think, well, it's not me, it's you. You know, like that's just how we are in nature. But I'm humble in the fact that I've learned to sit back and evaluate a situation and play devil's advocate too. I know when I'm being an asshole or something like that. I can tell when I'm doing those things, and I evaluate myself and I correct them. You know.
Yeah, you're an interesting cat with that. I like that about you. It's one of the things I really like about you is that if you're wrong, you admit it. You do it
Yeah.
pretty fast too.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking through something. I'm not gonna mention what we were talking about, but we were talking about something last week, and I think I kind of posed a question to you and said kind of the same thing. And you were like, within like a minute, you're like, "Wow, I didn't see it from that perspective."
Yeah.
Like, man, I probably shouldn't have done it that way or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
And-
shouldn't have spoke that way.
Yeah. 100%. Like I know
Yeah.
better than that. That's better
Yeah.
than, I'm better than that in
Yeah.
in doing it. And I swear you admitted it within like minutes or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people have that quality. And that's a very admirable quality and one I respect.
Dude, it's
about you.
taken a lot of life lessons to learn that, though. Like, I'm not saying I'm a perfect individual, but
No.
I like to say that I stumble perfectly, because when I stumble, I always learn something.
Yeah.
Always. You
And
know,
at least you admit to it and you man up,
Yeah.
because so many people
Yeah.
just don't fucking man up or woman
No.
up, either whatever context you want to put it.
Yeah.
Like they don't fucking just pony up for what they did and just
Right.
say, "Man, I fucked up right there. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Now
It'll
doesn't-
make you a better person. Don't be a pushover in the fact that you concede to everything.
Yeah, it
You
will.
truly look in the mirror and see the negative effects you've had or your part in whatever you caused,
Sure.
and you can own those things. You'll be a better person for it.
Yeah, you will. And if you mess up, you're gonna have to learn from it. Sometimes you can't always take back what you said and use that
Right.
too. And that's sometimes I think we all need to realize that is like you can't take back what you said to
No.
somebody that was
And
mean.
words do fucking hurt, dude.
They hurt the worst, man.
They do.
It's if somebody stabs you in the heart, like that, like literally, physically, you're gonna die fast. If
Yeah.
somebody starts poking you in that area shortly, it's gonna be slow and prodding. And that's kind of like that with words. Slow and prodding, that stuff hurts people.
Especially when you're the head of the household, so to speak, and you're the one that's supposed to protect and build your family up and your wife and stuff like that, and then you say some hurtful shit that you can't take back. It's the worst feeling in the world, man, because I'll tell you what, there's been many times that I wish I just had a time machine to just get over I should have just bit my tongue, or I should have just held my breath and not said what I had on my mind. If I would have just thought in that instance, it would have saved a lot of hurt and a lot of disappointment. When you hurt a woman like that, and you betray that, they're very, especially if their upbringing has been rough and stuff, they expect you to be like everybody else. Everybody else has come in their life and left and things like that. They expect you to follow suit. So you have to be more fragile and caring when dealing with women like that. You have to be more tender, more caring, and realize their past traumas that they've been through have brought them to be the person they are. So you have to tread carefully with things you say, because you can't take those things back. And women hold on to the words more than men do. That's a fact. That's a fact.
That they internalize it a lot more is what you're saying?
They internalize it a lot more, and then the next time shit goes off, they remember those things, and it builds up on them. Versus, we as men, usually when things are said, because we do it to each other, right? Like you and I, like we've had disagreements, we've said it, we're done, we had our conversation, it's over, we never bring it up again.
You move on from that shit.
You move on from
they let it fester on them off.
They let it fester on them, and then if you get anywhere near a similar situation, that past experience that they had with you is brought up tenfold.
I think with men, though, too, in fairness, I think something to say about men is we're very dismissive, though, as well. Like when we make a mistake and say something shitty, just saying, we say something mean and hurtful, like we'll admit it. And then sometimes people can't forgive very quickly for that. It's going to take them a long time. We're very dismissive in the way is we start getting agitated when they won't forgive us after a day or two sometimes.
You
know, and we're
because
like,
we do that.
Yeah, because we're like, okay, you said something mean to me. Fuck it. All right, it was mean and nasty. It was, whatever. I'm over it. No worries. Let's just not go down that road again.
Right.
Them, I'm not saying every female's like this or every male's like this. I'm just saying generally. But for many of the females, they'll hold that shit in, man. and it hurts and it digs at them a lot more. And we're just like, we want that gratification when we apologize of immediately.
I want you to fucking forgive me right now.
Just forgive me right now. You know?
Yeah.
It does, but you know that, and I do too. That shit don't work that way with most people.
It don't work like that.
No, it don't work that way with most people because, whew, those are the worst ones, man. They go on for like ever.
Yeah.
And if somebody's out there and you've never had one of these in your life, you're a fucking liar.
You're lying. You're lying out your ass.
You're full of shit.
And that's kind of what I told my wife, you know, when this last stint of us having a disagreement and stuff, it's like we're not the only ones that go through this shit. You know,
everybody does.
Everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through their stint of a up and a down in a marriage, and the marriages that work are the ones that you stay and you fight for it. Mm-hmm. You can either run or you can stay and fight for it. You know, it's all in a matter of both of you giving in to each other. Eventually, you both have to concede to each other. Mm-hmm. It can't be one person doing it. It'll never work. You know, so when you both have that humility and come together and realize, okay, you've done some things, I've done some things. We love each other unconditionally. Are we really wanting to end this all over this stupid ass disagreement? You know, if you can come to that conclusion, or if you want to sit down and write on a board the pros and cons of your relationship, if the cons outweigh your pros, then you know your answer. Yeah. You know, I think that's a helpful tool for people. You know, if you can sit there and you can write down more pros than cons, then the relationship's worth fighting for. Yeah. If you can't and it's all negative, it may be time to cut it loose.
Well, I think you got to look at the cons too and see if they're fixable ones. I think that's another layer you got to kind of add on to that one.
Sure.
You got to make sure you can fix those things too.
Right. And live with them.
Yeah. There's some people that just aren't capable of wanting to change who they are. And, you know, they might have a lot of negative qualities, but they just don't want to see it, or they just don't want to put the effort in, or they just like who they are and they don't want to change that no matter who it hurts.
And that's okay too. That's when you walk away and you find the person that you're compatible with, like you were talking about.
Yeah. No moss. This isn't going to work. You know, I get it. We're different.
Life's too short, dude. Like, you want to figure it out now, because I'll tell you what, you don't want to be waking up 50, 60 years old and be stuck in a shitty, like a job. You know, you don't want to wake up one day and still be a fucking dishwasher and being miserable.
Yeah.
You don't want that for your marriage or your relationship either. If you're fucking miserable, address it now, see if it's something you can fix and work with. If you can't, it may be time to walk away.
And holding on too long does sometimes just is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's just,
unless you're just better.
Yeah. Unless you're just willing to accept that that's the way it's going to be for the rest of your life. And then that's what you're willing to deal with, and you're willing to deal with that. If you can accept that, great. If not, if you know it's over and done and it's never going to change, do you really want to cheat yourself out of life all the time too?
Well, and the worst thing that I see for people is like when it's financially motivated. When you stay just because you're financially comfortable, or you're just, you know, the one person's the breadwinner and you're not, or whatever the fuck.
Most often that's the case of why people stick around, is due to finances.
Right. And I think that's the most bullshit, cowardly, cop-out thing to do in a relationship, because, you know, if you're miserable, there ain't no amount of money on this earth that's worth it, you know? So that's just my opinion on that. I've seen some friends go through that situation where they've just fallen out of love to the point where they sleep in separate rooms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what we're talking about, the kiss of death of the relationship, and they still stick together because one makes more money than the other, or, you know, together that's the only way they're going to make their ends meet. To me, man, I would rather be homeless than be stuck in a relationship or a marriage miserable. That's just a fact.
That answers my question, I think, that I was going to ask you, because I was going to say, so what would you do in this situation? But I think you just gave me my answer to that. But somebody says, okay, you got to stay in this awful relationship that you know you're never going to change. It's never going to get better. This person, you're not going to be able to stand being around them because you can't stand them now. And you can get $10 million or $20 million or $5 million, a good chunk of money. Just stay put with them. Or do you walk away eventually when you know it can't be fixed and it's completely done, and go seek and find your happiness? Or do you take the $5-10 million, whatever they're offering? What would you do?
I'd be out quicker than shit. There's no amount of money that somebody can pay me nowadays to stay in something, because I've wasted enough time doing that. You know what I mean? I've wasted enough time, not just in relationships and stuff, but even friendships and like just regular relationships in life. I'm a codependent person, so I'm a problem solver. That's one of my toxic traits. I put other people's shit first, so then my shit piles up, and by the time I try to go handle my stuff, it's so fucking far gone that I don't know where to start, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so I've wasted so much of that time that I'm starting to realize and finally figure out for myself that it's okay for me to put myself first. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to take care of my own shit. Because eventually, if I don't take care of my own shit, those people that I'm problem solving for, I'm not going to be able to do anything for, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's going to bring me down to that level of not being okay, not being stable financially or mentally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not tending to my own stuff. So therefore my shit is getting unorganized. My shit is getting crazy and out of hand, and I'm not tending to it, you know? So I can't go solve everybody else's problems until mine are solved.
I think not taking the money from that question shows a lot about what you value too.
Yeah.
Because you're saying I value happiness and being with somebody who's valuable
Peace.
to me, you know?
I'm not
Yeah.
addicted to chaos. I want
Yeah.
so much peace in my life because
Yeah.
I've had so much chaos. You
And
know,
that's all you want is this, a good, peaceful,
normal
stable life.
situation.
You don't
right?
want to be around anybody that's a fucking cancer to be around.
Exactly.
That's a pain in the ass to be around and miserable and
100%.
makes you unhappy.
Yeah.
Like, I bet you though, if people out there, and shoot a message over to the show if you want, and check it, you know, shoot a message over to the show, our email address, our YouTube, whatever, and let us know your thought, because I bet you a lot of people's answer would be the opposite of yours. So what would you
What
guys
about
do?
you?
Would you take the bag of cash, people, or would you stay unhappy?
What
I think a
about you,
lot.
John? Would you take the bag of cash?
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Same point of view.
Yeah, 100%. I crave that. I sacrificed too much of my happiness for too long of my life.
Yeah.
And I mean, not like, I'm not going to say it was like a miserable life or anything like that, because
Right.
that would be unfair to say that. But there was a lot of years I wasn't happy that I should have stopped
Yeah.
settling, and I could never go back. I would never go back and be like I was, where I settled for somebody that was just
Right.
not right for me and just did not make me happy. I would
Mhm.
never waste my time again. And if I could probably go back and do something different in life, I would have. I wish I would have maybe learned that lesson a little bit earlier in life. And
Sure.
you know, but everything happens for a reason, and it worked out the way it did in life. And I'm extremely happy and blessed, and in a great
Yeah.
place, and everywhere in my life and my relationships, and my personal life and everything. So it works out. But I would not take the money. As much as I love money, as much as it'd be nice for 10 million, I
Right.
could never live that way again, man, with somebody that I didn't want to be around.
Right.
Never. It's the worst
Exactly.
fucking feeling in the world. Like,
It
think
is.
about how many people out there, like, if you're listening to this right now and you felt this way, or you've been in this way, where you're like dreading to come home because you just
That's
don't want to
horrible.
see that person.
Like you'll drive around the block just to
Yeah.
not be at home, or you'll think of extra things at work to do just
Yeah,
to
the
not
fucking
go.
boss says, you do a new filing system here. It needs to be done in 2 months. I'll stay all week long, boss, and do it.
Yeah,
every
I'll
night.
get it done now.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll be here till 11 o'clock at night working on this shit.
yeah. Those are kiss of death signs that I
Oh.
like to call them in relationships. Like,
Yeah.
if you're doing that,
Done.
if you can't stand the air, breathing the same air as your partner, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. It's over. You have to be smart enough to recognize when enough's enough. You know,
Yeah.
it's like with me. Like, I wasted a lot of time with substance abuse and stuff like that. Like, I wasted so much of my life, my younger youth, substance abuse and things of that nature. Then come full circle with my first marriage, I wasted however long on that. You know, so I'm just done wasting time at this point. Like,
Yeah.
you do so much of that, and it's so negative and so chaotic, and it's not a quality of life worth living. You know,
Mhm.
and I'm not talking suicide, thoughts or anything like
Yeah.
that before anybody goes there. I'm saying it's not a quality of life to be stuck in.
Yeah.
And then when you are aware of that and you're ready to make that move, it's the most liberating feeling on planet Earth when you do that. When you
Absolutely.
actually get up and take action and reclaim your life, it's so much better.
And we're not out here advocating for divorce, folks.
No,
Okay.
work it out.
Somebody's going to clip something out of context always and take
Yeah.
something for what it's not. We're not advocating for divorce right here. We're just
No.
saying, that it's okay sometimes when you can't do it,
Yeah.
even though it's not what you the desired result.
Right.
Like, sometimes it has to just be done.
Yeah.
I'd rather be happy and chase my dreams or be with somebody that puts me
Pushes
first.
you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
supports me, cheers me on.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that all day long than just live a life for money or live a life to be
Right.
in a relationship and say, well, at least I'm not a statistic. I stayed,
Right.
unhappily married for 75 years, but at least I'm not a statistic.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
You only get one chance in this life, man. If you
Dude.
spend your time with people that you're miserable with, if you spend your time in relationships you don't want to be a part of, if you
Yep.
spend your time doing projects that you don't want to be a part of, doing, things for other people, you're never living for yourself, which is the most important when you wake up in the morning. If you're not living for yourself, you can't live for anybody else.
If you ain't happy with yourself and if you're not happy with who you are and what you're doing in life, man, it's a miserable thing to wake up like that every day when you're not feeling happy and content in life.
It is, and I think that's a lot of the Prozac nation that we live in, why everybody's on medications and things like that, because it's a big coping situation that nobody's truly honest with themselves. Nobody stays true to themselves anymore. It's all about living for other people and doing for other people and stuff. And I'm not saying go out there and be fucking selfish.
Yeah.
But I am saying get out there and live life and don't cripple yourself in situations that, for financial gain or whatever the situation may be, comfortability, whatever that case may be. Don't get stuck in situations you don't want to be a part of. Live life to the fact that, the people that you keep in your inner circle, your spouse, your best friend, your brother, your sister, whatever, those are the people that will be there, like you were talking about, when you fall forward. Those are the people that are going to drag you across that finish line. Make sure those are the people that you're living for, not the ones that are creating chaos in your life, not the ones that are bringing toxicity in your life, that makes you turn to substance abuse or other negative aspects of what you could be doing. Always have people that make you have positive outcomes.
Good points, man. Really good topic tonight. I really enjoyed discussing this with you. It's
absolutely.
It's fun to just, it's fun to take self-inventory sometimes. We take that inventory on ourselves and see what we're doing right and wrong. I know going through this conversation tonight and giving advice, listening to your thoughts, listening to mine, thinking about them, it's like I'm thinking in my head right now, there's still a few things I'm not doing the right way. Like, I'm going to take my advice on a few of these things tonight that we talked about and be like,
absolutely.
Definitely could tweak that up a little bit. It's important to take that self inventory. And if you're out there listening and you're not taking inventory of yourself, you're doing something wrong.
You're doing something wrong.
You got to look into yourself because that's how you get better. That's how you become a better version of yourself. And that's how you become the best husband, wife, sister, brother, mother, father, whatever, all those different titles you can have by taking a little inventory of yourself, learning about it and fixing it.
It's always good to check ourselves, man. Because we're the only ones that will truly do it at the end of the day. You got to look in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
You're the only one that can give you that reality check.
Yeah. No, you read my mind on the reality check part. I was like, it's the harshest reality check in the world sometimes, but it's the one we need.
Yep, for sure, man.
All right. Closing thoughts, man. And we'll head on out.
I'm really excited, man, on the wrestling side of things. Everybody, if you're a wrestling fan, go over there. Check out the great interview we just had with Ricardo Rodriguez, former manager of Alberto Del Rio. We dove into some deep shit with substance abuse. I felt like it was a great communicative effort on his end, the outreach that he has and all the positive outcomes and stuff that he's creating on his end, with recovery centers and everything else, man. That was such an incredible interview that we did. Very touching. So I hope everybody goes over there, checks that out, gives it a like.
I played it on the radio last week, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I used it as an episode for Random Conversations last Sunday because I wanted them to hear it too.
Dude, such an amazing episode. One of the best interviews we've ever done. Love the guy to death. Look forward to talking to him in the future. Go check that stuff out. And we're going to have a lot more stuff coming down the road, man. There's a lot of there's wake up call episodes we're going to do. We're going to dive into conspiracy stuff a little bit. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about fun things as well. And motivating things. So, stay tuned. We got a lot of great content coming up.
I'm looking forward to doing another conspiracy theory one, but every time we do one, we get in trouble.
It's kind of crazy that it's 9/11 we're talking about this.
I know, right? We did do that.
That was neck of the woods, man. I know that was what we got our first strike for.
Yeah, that was our first boo-boo that we made over there by just discussing the topic of 9/11 and some of the some of the myths potentially of it and all the questions people have. It's amazing how when you do these conspiracy theory shows, you get pushed down to the bottom and you get hit pretty hard by people.
Shadow banned.
Yeah. So it's I'm sure we'll get one on the next one, right?
Yeah, I'd like to dive into JFK, man. That's something that I got obsessed with for a little bit, looking into.
You got to send me the information on it that you got, so I could read up on it
Mhm.
and get more well versed on it. I've
Yeah.
had some interesting conversations with my dad about the time too.
I'll tell you
recently.
this much: the person that I think is the shooter is not going to be somebody anyone has ever spoken about before.
All right, I'm interested when we do that. Then
I'm gonna say that the shooter was in the same vehicle.
yeah, I know where you're going with it.
Yeah.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down on this.
Yeah.
Well, good future topic that we can definitely discuss on the show here. And come back every Sunday night if you're listening to this on radio on WDJY at from 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Every Sunday night, you can find it on WDJYFM.com. Click Listen Live. There you go. And if you miss it, it goes right up on our YouTube Random Conversations. And I don't really put up anything on Facebook. I'm really bad about social media, and it's my own fault. But sometimes I'll put stuff up on our Facebook occasionally. I'm just terrible at it. And we have enough things going on. So social media is not always our strong point. So yeah, but we're always putting the episodes up on our YouTube. So you guys can check it out there. And it's on audio on all major podcast outlets as well. You can get all episodes there too. So all right, guys, I think that's enough cheap, selfless plugs for the show and all that we're doing. Thanks for your time and attention. We'll see you real soon here on Random Conversations. For Richie, I'm John. We're out of here. We'll see you later. Be safe, be good, and thank you for listening.